Greeting YouTube. One of the things I see regularly is people on the in the red cap community all talking about taking our country back. From who? In a lot of places in America, the Republicans have been in charge for quite a while. So you're not taking it back from them, are you? Of course, you're not. You're Republicans. And most Democrats are status quo folks. They don't want to make big changes. They're quite happy with the way things are. They're comfortable with brown people and black people being second-class citizens. They're okay with women being second-class citizens. As long as you don't, start waving Nazi flags and Confederate flags around and saluting the president like a good member of the Hitler Youth, they're willing to turn a blind eye to all of the horrible things that go on in the background. It's only when you're overtly fascist that they will step forward and say, we really can't tolerate that now, can we? But as long as it's, nice, quiet New England styles of racism, they're okay with it. So you'd think that the Republicans would be okay with that. Status quo has been serving them quite well. But when they say that whole take it back thing, I don't see it as a statement about current politics. I see it as a statement of a linear time statement. They're talking about taking it back to a time when no one had any rights in America unless you were a straight, white, cisgender man. Christian man, I should point that out. And though they were the only ones that had any power. So they want to go back all the way to the 1950s. They want to make sure that brown people and black people can't vote. They want to make sure that women can't have checking accounts, can't get divorced. They want to make sure that women can't get abortions. They want to make sure women don't have access to birth control. They want to make sure that no organized forms of religion exist, and any individuals who want to express their individuality can't, publicly at least. They want to make sure that Christianity is the only thing that's taught in schools. They want to make sure that white kids are the only ones getting educations, and they're the only one that is ever going to benefit from the system as it exists. So I don't hear take it back as, from a Democratic Party that is only slightly more progressive than the Republicans. No, I hear it, and I'm seeing it as taking it back to a time more than, 70 years ago. They want to go back to an era where America was run by white men. That's what they're happy with. And in a lot of cases, a lot of these folks were raised in that environment. Remember, while I am technically a boomer at 59, I was born in 64, that technically makes me the last group that was be considered boomers, as the baby boom from 44 to 64 is kind of the window. What is a boomer? I am young for a boomer, and I did not get to benefit in the way that most boomers did. The folks that were born in 44 or were during the war, they got raised in an environment of white people in charge and a system that benefited white folks and let them have a cheap education, get jobs. They could walk into a place, shake somebody's hand, and get a job and work there for 30 years. They could get a house for peanuts. They think they can go back to that world, but it's gone. And it's gone because the Republican Party kept selling them that message, and they kept buying it, all the while the Republican Party was doing everything in their power to make sure that that era is long gone. White folks have been voting against their best interests in America for a very long time, because their allegiance to the Republican Party has just helped the Republican Party to eliminate the middle class, to turn the middle class into working poor. And that benefits the GOP because that means they're more easily exploited. And because their education levels have been undermined by, again, the efforts of the GOP, they don't seem to understand that they're in a race to the bottom. Yes, they can say with some pride that I'm doing better than black and brown people. Yes, you are correct. But how much better? I mean, as long as you have been convinced that you're better than a black guy, the Republican Party has been more than able to just reach into your pocket and keep stealing from you decade after decade after decade. And you turned a blind eye to it because they kept telling you that you're better than the black guy. You're not, and you never were. And you've been buying that lie. And that lie has been driving you and all the people you know into the working poor. And the GOP is just going to keep doing that. As long as they can convince you that you're better than the black guy, you are willing to let them do anything under the sun to you, your family, and your future. You're willing to sell it all down the river so long as you can have that mental image in your head that it's still the 1950s and white people are still in charge, even though you're standing around looking at a world that looks nothing like that era, where you don't have any real power. You're poor. You're never going to be wealthy. You're never going to have good health care or good education. You're never going to have secure housing or secure food. None of those things, like those evil socialist countries do. You keep letting the GOP do this to you. And while the Democrats are the party of status quo, and I despise them for it, at least they're not as evil as the GOP. And if you get rid of the GOP, I'd start doing everything in my power to get rid of the Democrats. I want democratic socialists. Flat out socialism, man, baby. That is what we need. We need socialism. We need to make sure that everybody has what they need to survive, and that no one derives profit from anything that you need to survive. That would be my dream. But in the meantime, the GOP has been fleecing the white folks in America by convincing them that taking it back means to an era that they can only dream about. A mythology that dwells in the minds of Americans. Some perfect, crystal clear dream that once was. It really wasn't. And they're going to keep using that dream until all of you are living in the streets. And you'll probably still vote for the GOP.